He says, "You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. It didn't happen that way." And at first, you start doubting him, but soon, you start doubting yourself. That's gaslighting, one of the most subtle and dangerous forms of emotional manipulation. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts quietly, like a whisper that becomes your reality. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening until you're already questioning your sanity. Gaslighting isn't about loud arguments or dramatic fights. It's about control. Control over how you see the world, how you remember things, and eventually, how you see yourself. Toxic partners use it to make you dependent on their version of the truth. It begins with small things. You bring up something that hurt you, and he says, "That never happened." You remember clearly, but he insists you're wrong. The first few times you argue back, but over time, he wears you down. You stop trusting your memory. You start thinking maybe you are too emotional. That's when the manipulation takes root, when doubt replaces confidence. Gaslighting works because it attacks your perception, and perception is everything. Imagine someone constantly moving the lines of truth. One day, the sky is blue. The next, they convince you it was always gray. They repeat it enough times that eventually you stop trusting your own eyes. Psychologists describe gaslighting as slow psychological erosion. It's like water dripping on a stone, gentle but relentless, until it shapes your mind the way they want. They'll say things like, "I never said that. You're imagining things. Everyone thinks you're crazy." These aren't just lies, they're strategies, because every time you question reality, you rely on them more. You stop thinking, "What's true?" and start thinking, "Maybe he's right." And that's the goal, to make you believe that without him, you can't trust your own thoughts. Once he controls your thoughts, he controls you. Gaslighters often present themselves as calm and logical, while painting you as emotional or irrational. When you cry, they stay composed, not because they're strong, but because they've already decided what role you'll play. You become the problem. They become the reasonable one. But let me tell you something. Staying calm while destroying someone's confidence isn't maturity, it's manipulation. You might start hearing phrases like, "I was just joking, don't be so sensitive." "You're making a big deal out of nothing." "I only said that because I love you." These statements sound harmless, but they're weapons wrapped in affection. Each one chips away at your self-trust. Over time, you stop standing up for yourself. You start apologizing for reacting. You start hiding your feelings to avoid conflict. And before you know it, you're living in his version of reality, not yours. Gaslighting doesn't just hurt emotionally, it rewires your brain. Studies show that long-term exposure to emotional manipulation increases anxiety, overthinking, and even memory loss. That's why victims often say, "I don't even know who I am anymore." Because the goal of gaslighting is identity erasure, replacing your truth with theirs. So why do people fall into it? Because gaslighters are masters of timing. After breaking you down, they'll suddenly give affection, a sweet text, an apology, a small gesture of love. That's not kindness. That's control. It's a reward for your obedience. You start craving those moments of validation, believing that if you just act right, he'll go back to being loving again. But he won't, because the manipulation is working exactly as planned. The most heartbreaking part is that gaslighting often happens to strong, intelligent women. Why? Because strong women question things, and manipulators see that as a challenge. They don't want an equal, they want control. If you find yourself constantly second-guessing your memory, apologizing too much, or feeling like you're walking on eggshells, stop. That's not love. That's psychological warfare disguised as romance. So, how do you escape? First, name it. Once you call it what it is, gaslighting, the illusion breaks, the fog starts to clear. Keep a record of conversations if you can. Write down what really happened, because when you start documenting truth, you take power away from the manipulation. Next, stop defending your reality to someone committed to distorting it. You don't need to prove your truth, you need to protect it. Seek perspective from people who know you, friends, family, or a therapist. External voices help you rebuild internal clarity. And finally, remember this: healing from gaslighting takes time, but every small act of self-trust is victory. When you start saying, "No, that did happen," you reclaim the part of yourself they tried to erase. Love should never make you question your sanity. The right person won't twist your words or make you doubt your truth. They'll protect it. You deserve someone who values your emotions, not someone who uses them against you. And if you're listening to this thinking, "This is me," it's okay. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You were just made to believe you were. Now it's time to see reality again. Not the one he built, but the one that's truly yours.